So let's talk quickly about our lovely security news going on this month. Obviously, the world has changed an awful lot in the last little bit here. So we're going to jump right into it. Let's first talk about the latest breaches, because we can never go a month without talking about breaches. First one, 44 million images at Keyring app data leak. Key things I wanted to point out, what I've got highlighted there. Where did it leak from? AWS S3 buckets. Storing customer data in unsecure AWS buckets. Another key piece, 5 misconfigured buckets, not just one, 5. And really what it was is they were set to public rather than private. Just to comment on this, we see this time and time again, and we're going to talk about it a little later on another slide. We can't seem to get rid of the problem with configuration, especially in the cloud. Don't have a good answer for that one, about how to try to solve those problems. Definitely an issue, and it's going to continue to plague us for some time. So jump to the next one here. This one had me giggling. Secure backup company leaks 135 million records. Again, had to giggle when I heard a secure backup company. Again, what we had here is a database of 135 million records, 70 gigabytes, related to the accounts on their system, compromised, out in the wind. Interesting to note was when the firm was contacted, December 10th there, but when the incident was mitigated, December 19th, but look at when we're actually getting notification all the way in April. This is another really, really bad thing, is that we have this enormous lag between discovery, remediation, and then, oh yeah, by the way, we got hacked. This gives a perfect window for bad guys who have maybe gotten that data. This gives them a time window that they can act, and that tends to be a big problem. Marriott, again, another one to kind of chuckle about. This wasn't the first one. This was number 2. Another data breach. Looks like it's still actively going on. But this one is interesting about one of the comments you see highlighted in the box there. What happened is basically they said that 2 Marriott employees had accessed an unexpected amount of guest information, which we all know what that means. The credentials have probably been compromised. While this breach is not good to read about, not good to hear about, I do give credit for the fact that somebody was watching the amount of data they had accessed and it raised a flag automatically. That's a positive thing. Not the best thing in the world. The time lag, I'm sure, of getting it taken care of, but at least it was detected. And this is not an easy thing to detect in a lot of cases. If you say to somebody, hey, tell me when you see unusual activity in a user of the system, that's not always something we can get easily and readily. So the fact that they found it, I'm going to give them some credit for, even though, again, it was yet another breach. This one, again, made me chuckle. Military secrets exposed by a UK printing company. And what do we have yet again? Another misconfigured Amazon S3 bucket. This particular printing and binding company had global clients, and one of the interesting things of all the records in the database, again, over a 300 gigabyte database, about 270,000 records. One of the last things that they mentioned here is internal military handbooks. So much for keeping control of those things. Zoom, well, we all know what's been going on with Zoom. Obviously, we had the lovely tool get released so that people could look for Zoom rooms that were open, and because of that, we had all the Zoom bombing stuff that happened. Well, that wasn't the only thing. They also had some information get out, thousands of user videos that were online, stored in what? Yet again, another AWS S3 bucket without passwords. So we're just having a real bad time this month with AWS S3 buckets. And again, this is not something that's AWS's fault. This is because somebody didn't pay attention as they were configuring it, or it wasn't detected as a change. If somebody made it from private to public, It wasn't detected and no one worked it to remediate it after. So I don't blame AWS for this. This is, whoever owns the system, it's their fault. This is on them. All right, next one. Phishing, 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 phishing. This picture says it all. For the love of God, stop clicking on phishing emails. If we could only get people to listen, right? Phishing emails is everyone, I'm sure anyone doing any sort of work in the security field actively right now, you've seen the increase. I've seen it absolutely in our environment. I'm sure a lot of other people have seen it as well. The numbers being reported is, over a 600% increase since the end of February of phishing emails, and I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon. They just change. They change the tactic. Once the initial panic is over, they're starting to do other types of emails. I think I've got another one right here. Here is the "you've been infected" type of email. So again, this is how they're getting people to click. And it's going to continue for some time. The best thing you can do here is to continue to educate it's not only your employees, but families and friends. A lot of this stuff, easy to see, some of it not so, but it goes back to the whole thing of, if you weren't expecting the email, it's probably spam, it's probably phishing. And again, Zoom, let's take another hit, Zoom. Phishers have registered over 2,000 new domains this month, trying to get people to click on links thinking it's a Zoom meeting that they're supposed to be attending. Again, when we got pushed all away from normal interfaces, normal interaction in the room, we all went online to Zoom and those others. And by the way, this is not limited to Zoom. This one that's got highlighted. All those conferencing systems, that are public, people are putting up all kinds of domains to try to trick people to click it. Hey, you've been invited to this meeting, so on and so forth. So this is not just a Zoom problem. This is a problem across all types of meeting software. Again, another thing, if you're working to educate your users on, make sure they know what to look for in what is a proper Zoom meeting for your company. If it's not branded correctly, don't click. That's one of the big things I've been trying to emphasize. If it doesn't look right, don't click. Don't go there. I rather have, myself in particular, I'd rather get chewed on because somebody missed an official meeting than have them click on everything that comes into their inbox. And I'm sure we all have had that issue before. And again, can't forget, it's that time of year. The IRS is absolutely, people are using that as another angle for phishing. And now they're adding in the stimulus payment as a lure to get people to click there. Again, this is all about educating your users, family, friends, the whole 9 yards. The scammers are out there and they're working real hard to get into a lot of these different systems. So giving them a little bit of a heads up of some of these examples of what they're doing and how they're doing it will hopefully keep them safer. Next section we're going to talk about, again, don't know if I should laugh or just facepalm. We're going to talk about things like ransomware. This one is a scary thing to me. As highlighted down there, the number of organizations that are paying ransomware has increased from 39% in 2017 all the way to 58% in 2019. This is a really, really, really bad trend. As these bad guys realize that they're going to get paid, they're going to continue to do it more and more. It's not going to go away. The other side of this is, if people are paying, that tells me that they're not prepared for it. They don't have backups. They don't have other key pieces. So another terrible thing that we're also getting issues on that where people aren't prepared for it. All right. Again, as if you couldn't, believe it, 37% increase in cyber attacks alone, again, over COVID. So the bad guys aren't getting sick and sitting at home eating chicken soup. They're taking full advantage of this time. And I do believe that right now, a lot of people that were forced to go remote, are still having challenges trying to get access to some of their day-to-day services and things that they do within their organization. So there's a good chance that some of the people you had watching some of these tools looking for the bad guys either aren't there because, let's hope not, but if they're ill, it could be that they just can't get to the tool the way we've got sometimes them enclaved off and they can't get in through the VPN. There's all kinds of other ways, but they're counting on that decrease in people watching it to launch a lot of these attacks. So this is not something that's going to go away anytime soon. Matter of fact, everything I've seen indicates that it's going to keep going up and up and up. Oh, this is a fun one. Human error linked to 60% of security breaches. Again, doesn't come as a surprise to any one of us. We talked about all the S3 buckets earlier in the presentation here. Those fall into this, 60%, and this is just UK businesses. But what's even more telling about this is a third of those, 30%, were knocked out for 4 to 5 days. That's a huge disruption due to human error. The article didn't go into great detail, and I would love to see more detail about this, about the types of security issues that were human and why did it take so long to recover. Again, terrible, terrible problem. Not uncommon, I think, these days, because a lot of groups are running very fast, running hard, trying to get on the latest technology, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. And I think we're going to see more of this, unfortunately. I think we're not going to see less. I think we're going to see more of it. Again, security ebbs and flows. It goes in tides. I think that we've now hit one of those points where security is, it may be talked about in a lot of corporations, but I don't know that it's necessarily always front and center as opposed to getting a product out on time in front of people. So I think we are sacrificing things in order to do that. I think one of the things that's getting sacrificed is security. So again, tide will turn. It'll come back to being balanced again. And then, of course, as it continues to flow, it'll go overboard where there's more security than there needs to be. But that's how the cycle works. Again, more talk about misconfigurations. 82% of the 82% of the vulnerabilities were due to misconfigurations on firewalls and passwords. The fact that they talked about passwords meaning weak or default passwords on systems, I don't have a lot to say on that. Matter of fact, I'm kind of shocked about that one. Passwords are not new. We've talked about passwords, almost every month. Why are we having weak or passwords that are default? This should not occur. This is a 101 type of thing. And again, I don't have a lot of good answers for anybody on this one. Let's talk a little bit about cybersecurity education. This is another very interesting topic. Some of the articles that popped up this past month. This one I didn't know how to react to. It'll be interesting seeing how you guys react to. Cybersecurity isn't cool enough to attract new talent. 42% felt that the public perception of the industry being boring and full of dorks. I don't know what to say. Yes, there's a lot of boring things in security, but there's also a lot of very, what I would consider intellectually stimulating things about cybersecurity, trying to outthink the bad guy, trying to get ahead of them. I don't know what else to say about this. And millennials apparently really are turned off by cybersecurity and don't want to go into it. Again, don't know what to say here. I don't know how you make security cool. Part of it is just boring, and we all know that. Anybody who's had to have do any sort of work with policies and procedures, you know what I'm talking about. That is one of the most dry things in the world. Or my thing that I absolutely hate that I will give to anyone else to do is BCDR. That is not one of my friends. I know people that love it, bores me to death. So I understand why people may think it's not cool. And I don't even know how to change that. I guess that's one of the things I would ask of the group is, hey, if you got great ideas to make it seem cool, I'd love to hear them, just because I don't know what in the world you could do to make this cool. And of course, when we turn right around on that, we talk back about how cyber skill gap, we don't have people that can carry out the tasks. This one is almost more about education, to where people don't have the skill set. They may have the bodies and the chairs, but they can't do what they're being asked to do. This one is very important because this ties back into the other reports that I looked at about having misconfiguration problems and some of those types of things. When you take somebody who's not qualified to work with the architecture, the infrastructure, the technology, and you put them in a role where it is they have to be the one taking accountability to take care of that, you're going to get breaches. And if we're not training them in that, that's a big issue. I've always been a proponent of mandating things that, for example, if you're going to be a cloud person and you're going to you're going to be in cloud operations and you're going to be taking care of, pick your favorite cloud, AWS, Azure, Oracle. If you're going to be taking care of that infrastructure, you should have some basic level of certification in it. Now, we all can sit here and argue certification doesn't necessarily mean you know it 100%, but it gives me some way to tell that at least you have gotten to some threshold. I have met people that are certified, got 27 different things after their name, and I wouldn't trust them to do security at all. Likewise, I've met people that don't have any certifications and are absolutely genius when it comes to security. But from looking from the outside in, I need a way of measuring that. The only way I can measure that is by certifications. And I think a lot of the people, the reason they're not getting those certifications is because we're not even formally training them. We're sitting there doing things like go out and play with this, and you should learn it that way by hands-on. And that's not a bad way of learning, but you're going to have gaps, you're going to miss things. And I think that's what's leading to a lot of our misconfigurations that we're seeing and holes that people are getting in. So just my 2 cents on that. 1 million vulnerabilities. Microsoft had to patch a wormable SMB flaw. This particular flaw was not cool. It was pretty bad. However, if you have a decent firewall, it wasn't coming into your organization. Okay. If your host-based IDS was configured so that when you leave your company network, it stops inbound requests, some of the stuff was difficult to execute. The really bad angle on this, and fortunately, I'm knocking on wood here, didn't manifest itself, was the fact that it was potentially wormable. As we're going through all this stuff we're going through with the virus, I was waiting for this to pop up and start ripping through a lot of people's networks. That, thank goodness, again, knocking on wood, has not appeared. But this is one that was not pretty. It's also led to a lot of people theorizing that there could be other things out there that haven't been patched yet as well. So stay tuned to this story. Docker, everyone who's out there running Docker, little thing for you to keep an eye on. If you've got exposed APIs out to the open, to the internet, you probably should shut those down or double check how you've got that going on. Bad guys are running around compromising Docker servers and using those exposed APIs to do what? Crypto mining, of course. So again, if you've got them out there, take a good look at how you're doing it. Docker can be done. It can be done very securely. If you're doing it just by throwing it up and saying you'll fix it later, you might be surprised at what's eating all your CPU time now. All right, this one, again, had to giggle at. There is a threat group that was using gift cards and sweet-faced teddy bears to get people to basically plug in a thumb drive and, auto runs malware. Not a bad way of getting somebody to plug in a thumb drive. And the fact that you're going to send it out, or you're going to send it out with a teddy bear, that tells me somebody's got some money to spend on it. The Fin7 Navigator group is probably Russian in origin. So obviously somebody said this is worthwhile doing it. Interesting seeing that somebody is now taking this type of attack where they're actually spending money to see what they can do to get on. I mean, I'd be interested in seeing what they're doing once they get on the machine. Is this for a profit, or is this to steal intellectual property? This is a good one to follow, and I will be keeping an eye on it. So if anyone knows anything
Eric?
more about this, I'd be interested to know.
Eric, did the gift card actually have $50 and the victims can actually spend on it?
No, from what I understand, the gift card was not active. So, yes, it looked like a valid gift card, but no, it wouldn't actually, you weren't actually getting $50 out of it. Again, this is one of those things that they tried to get you to plug in the USB to launch the code, but the card itself was not active. Common flaws, penetration tests. Somebody looked over the last couple of years to summarize what they had found in penetration tests that they had been doing. You can see highlighted there in the box the top 10 vulnerabilities with penetration testing. Some of these, it's like, again, don't know what to say. Network segmentation and access control, these are definitely not new ones. This should have never occur. It's one of those types of things I would love to get more information as part of this and see what types of apps they were testing and what kind of industries, to see if this is part of a problem within various industries SDLC, or if it's simply that it's common around all software development. I've got a lot of more questions on this one I'd like to know about. But it's interesting seeing that some of these things, especially like brute forcing accounts and guessable passwords, there's no excuse for that these days. That should not be occurring. Then there was a last one. This one did make me stop and go, I'm sorry, let me read this again. So the Chinese government is attempting to push a new standard for the internet. They basically think that TCP/IP needs to be changed. They're calling it new IP. Knowing this group and that we're very technical, I tried getting more detailed information about it, and I still am pulling information and reading it. But basically, it changes the way IP works, TCP/IP works, and puts things more centralized. And of course, when you get centralization, you get the ability to basically monitor and be in control. It's very clearly from a lot of the reports that I read on this. The Chinese are serious about it. They think that this is what's needed to fix some of the problems out there in the world when it comes to TCP/IP. But pretty well across the board, they're getting laughed at and told, no, it's not necessary. This is a way of you trying to gain control of networks. So stay tuned to this page. This will be another one to watch very closely.